Hello, boys and girls of grade 5. How are you doing? Welcome to our mathematics class. I am Miss Yulita Brown Phillips. Today we will be looking at comparing fractions. What does the word compare means? What does it mean to compare fractions? To compare fractions simply means to see which fraction is greater, is less, or is equal. Now, when comparing fractions, you will be seeing some symbols that we use to compare fractions. You may have seen these symbols in grade 4, grade 3, grade 2, or even grade 1. Now, the symbols used to compare fractions are greater than, less than, or equal to. Equal to means having the same value. Now, remember, in one of our previous lessons, based on fractions, we said that a fraction is a part of a whole. A fraction has two parts, the numerator or the top number and the denominator or the bottom number. So the first type of fraction that we are going to learn to compare, they are called unit fractions. Unit fractions. Now, unit fractions are those fractions that have a numerator of 1. Now, we have a simple rule that we follow when comparing unit fractions. When comparing unit fractions, the fraction with the smaller denominator is the greater fraction. Remember, your numerators would be the same. So you look at the denominator, and the denominator that is smaller is the greater fraction. Or we would say it is more than the other fraction. So let's move to our first example. Half, blank, quarter, or 1/4. Now we see that the numerators are the same. 1. That is the distinguishing feature of a unit fraction. The numerator is always 1. So let's look at our denominators, 2 and 4. Which denominator is smaller? Yes, 2. So the number sentence would read, half is greater than 1/4. Look at the diagram on the board. Let us see if our answer is accurate. So we have two pizzas there. One showing half and one showing 1/4. Which pizza is bigger? Yes, half is bigger than a quarter or 1/4. So boys and girls, now it's your turn to work. Using greater than or less than, compare the fractions below. We have 1/5 blank half. Number 2, 1/3 blank quarter. Take a minute and complete those. You should be finished by now. Let's see what my little geniuses have. Is 1/5 greater than half or less than half? Let's go back to our rule. Our numerators are the same, so let's look at our denominators. Our denominators are 5 and 2. We know that the fraction with the smaller denominator is the greater fraction. So which fraction has the smaller denominator? Yes, boys and girls, half has the smaller denominator, so it means that half is the greater fraction. So your answer should read 1/5 is less than half. And what you can do after class is over, you can draw diagrams to represent these fractions to see if your answer was accurate. Let's look at the other one. 1/3 blank 1/4. Which denominator is smaller? Yes, 3 is smaller. So your answer should read 1/3 is greater than 1/4. Good going, boys and girls. I am very proud of you. So we're going to learn to compare another type of fractions. Fractions with like denominators. Fractions with like denominators. The rule says, when comparing fractions with like denominators, we take into consideration the numerators. Of the two fractions, the fraction with the larger numerator is the larger fraction. Let's go that again. When comparing fractions with like denominators or the same denominators, we look at our numerators, which would be the top number as you know. The fraction with the larger numerator is the larger fraction. Let's quickly look at an example. 5/9 blank 2/9. Take a second and look at those two fractions. What can you tell me? Yes, their denominators are the same and the numerators are different. So let's compare them. Let's look at the numerators to see which one is the larger of the two. We have 5 and 2. Of course, 5 is greater than 2. So your answer will be 5/9 is greater than 2/9. Now it's your turn to do one. Using greater than or less than, compare the fractions below. 2/8 blank 7/8. You should be finished by now, boys and girls. We know that our denominators are the same. They are alike. So that makes our work super easy. So we will just look at our numerators. Our numerators are 2 and 7. Which number is greater? Yes, 7 is greater than 2. So your answer will read 2/8 is less than 7/8. 2/8 is less than 7/8. We're going to be comparing fractions with like numerators. Like meaning the same numerators. The rule is similar to that of the unit fractions. When comparing fractions with like numerators, the smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. You remember that rule from unit fractions? The smaller the denominator, the greater the fraction. Example, 5/9, 5/7. Both of our numerators are the same, so our work is made super easy. So our denominators are 9 and 7. Which of the two numbers are smaller? Yes, 7. So it therefore means that 5/7 would be the greater fraction. So your answer should read 5/9 is less than 5/7. So now it's your turn to do yours. Compare the fractions below. 7/9 blank 7/15. 3/9 blank 3/5. Take a minute and do those two, boys and girls. Remember to do neat work. Your work says a lot about you. You should be finished by now. Let's look at the first one. We all know that our numerators are alike. So this is going to be a walk in the park for you. Let's look at our denominators. What should we be looking for? Yes, we should be looking for the denominator that is the smaller one. That would indicate that that is the larger fraction. So we have 9 and we have 15. Yes, boys and girls, 9 is smaller than 15. So the fraction 7/9 is greater than 7/15. Let's look at the last one. 3/9 and 3/5. Our denominators are 9 and 5. Which denominator is the smaller of the two? Yes, 5. So 3/5 would be the greater fraction. So your answer will read 3/9 is less than 3/5. Good job, boys and girls. I am very proud of you. You have been doing excellent work. But you know we cannot end this class if we do not have the problem of the day. Look at the number sentences below, then state which number sentence is correct. A, 8/9 is less than 4/9. 2/6 is greater than 5/6. 4/10 is greater than 2/10. Take a minute to solve that problem. You should be finished by now. Do you have C? 4/10 is greater than 2/10? Yes, that is absolutely correct because the denominators are the same and the fraction that has 4 as the numerator is the greater fraction because 4 is greater than 2. You have excellent problem-solving skills, boys and girls. I am very, very proud of you. So that brings us to the end of today's class. I trust that you would have had an enjoyable time and you would have learned quite a lot. Remember, always put into practice what you learn because practice makes perfect. Bye, boys and girls. See you next time.